My tío Wilmer worked 12 hours a day for 42 years. Choloma maquila, cutting fabric for shirts gringos bought at Walmart for $14. Cuando murió, dejó 3,000 lempiras y una deuda. Eso es $125. That's it, 42 years. And he was one of the hardest working men I ever met. This isn't a video about lazy people. This is a video about why being born in San Pedro Sula breaks you before you ever get a chance and the one thing that gets you out. Mi abuela lo decía siempre, aquí el que no llora no mama, y el que llora tampoco. Here, the one who doesn't cry doesn't eat, and the one who cries doesn't either. She wasn't being funny. She was telling me the rules. I grew up between two streets in Chamelecón, where everybody knew which corner you couldn't cross after dark and which uncle had stopped coming to family dinners because he had stopped coming to anything. By the time I was 12, I had been to more funerals than birthday parties. And here's where it gets dark. By the time I was 16, I had stopped counting both. So before we get to how anybody escapes this, let me tell you what they're actually escaping. In 2012, my city, San Pedro Sula, was officially the most violent city in the world. Not in Honduras, in the world. 173 homicides per 100,000 people per year. To put that in real terms, your odds of being murdered before you turn 30 in San Pedro that year were higher than a US Marine's odds of being killed in Iraq during the surge. Three barrios carried most of it: Chamelecón, Rivera Hernández, López Arellano. If you grew up in any of them, you grew up reading invisible maps. This corner is MS 13. This corner is Barrio 18. This block is neutral until Friday. The Gualala bus terminal, where every poor Catracho catches his ride, got shot up so often the drivers started painting Bible verses on the windshields. They said it was for protection, but here's where it gets sadder. It wasn't. It was so the next driver knew which bus to take if his cousin didn't come home. But here's where it gets uglier. MS 13, the gang that was running my city, was not Honduran. It was American. It started in Los Angeles in the 1980s. Salvadoran kids escaping their own civil war, getting jumped by Mexican gangs in Pico Union, formed Mara Salvatrucha for protection. By the 1990s, the US was deporting them by the planeload back to a country that had no infrastructure to receive them. But then they didn't go quiet. They expanded to El Salvador, to Guatemala, to Honduras, to my city. We were eating a problem the United States had grown in its own backyard and shipped to ours, free of charge. Now, here's the part nobody outside Honduras understands. In 2009, the army pulled President Manuel Zelaya out of his bed at gunpoint, put him on a plane in his pajamas, and dropped him in Costa Rica. The coup, El Golpe. After that, the institutions we already barely trusted, we stopped trusting at all. The police were a joke before. After the coup, they were a joke with guns. The courts were broken before. But here's where it gets uglier. After the coup, they were broken and bought. So watch what happens next. Imagine being a kid trying to plan a future. Inside that, your government is a coup. Your police take bribes from the Maras. Your Maras came from LA. Your school stops at sixth grade unless your family has money, which they don't. And your job, when you get one, pays $2 an hour, 12-hour shifts, 6 days a week in a maquila in Choloma, sewing the same shirt my tío sewed for 42 years to die with $100 to $25 in his hand. Hurricane Mitch wiped us out in 1998. We were still rebuilding when Ida and Iota came back to back in 2020 and wiped us out again. Every decade resets you to zero. And that's not even the worst part. Every decade, somebody you love decides to walk to the US border because staying is suicide on a slower timeline. That's the outer trap, the violence, the exported gangs, the coup, the maquila ceiling, the hurricanes that don't quit. Y eso es solamente lo que está pasando afuera de tu piel. Because here's the thing, the outer trap is what they put in the news. The inner trap is what kills more Catrachos than the Maras ever did. The inner trap is the poisoned mind. Honduras ranks last in almost every regional metric you can name, last in income per capita in Central America for years at a time, bottom three in Latin America for school completion, top of the list for migration outflow. We know this. Every Honduran knows this. And we joke about it. Every Honduran family reunion has somebody making a joke about how Honduras is the country God made on a Friday afternoon when he had already mentally clocked out for the weekend. We laugh. Then we drink. Then somebody tells the joke about the Catracho who went to heaven, and St. Peter said, "Sorry, no Hondurans, the Wi Fi is too slow up here, too." It sounds like humor, but here's the thing it is not humor, it is identity. We have, as a people, agreed in advance that we are last, that nothing works here, that nothing will ever work here, that trying is for people who have not yet learned how things actually go in Honduras. There is a phrase for it, así somos. That's just how we are. Así somos is the most expensive sentence in the Honduran language. It costs us a generation of operators every 20 years. Because watch what happens to a kid who grows up hearing it. By age 10, every adult he respects has told him the system is rigged. By age 15, he has watched three uncles try and fail and one cousin try and die. By age 20, when somebody asks him what he wants to do with his life, he gives the answer his abuela would have given: Lo que Dios quiera, whatever God wants. Translation: I am not allowed to want anything specific because wanting things specifically is how you get hurt in this country. But here is the cruel part: Hondurans are some of the hardest working people on earth. I have watched my mother fold pupusas at 4:30 in the morning to sell at the bus stop before her shift at the hospital. I have watched my tia clean three houses in San Pedro and a fourth one on Sundays so her daughter could buy a uniform. I have watched my primo carry sacks of cement up a hill in Tegucigalpa for $3 a sack until his back stopped working at 31 years old. Hard work is not the missing piece. Hard work is the only piece we already have. But here's where it gets cruel. The maze is that all that work happens inside a head that has already decided it will not amount to anything. So a Honduran will work 12 hours a day for 42 years and never once stop to ask whether the 12 hours could be pointed at something that compounds. Because pointing your work at something that compounds requires believing the compounding will happen. And the inner trap has trained you not to believe. Let me give you the specific shape of it. There is a Tio in every Honduran family who left for the US in his 20s. He works construction in Houston, or roofing in Tampa, or landscaping in Charlotte. He sends $400 home every month for 20 years, 20 times, 12 times 400. $96,000 he has shipped back across that border, and he dies in a one-bedroom apartment in Pasadena, Texas, with no savings, no property, no business, and a phone full of pictures of nieces he barely knows. That Tio is not lazy. That Tio worked harder than any US born American I have ever met. The inner trap is what got him. He was not allowed to imagine anything for himself because he was the family insurance policy, and the family insurance policy is not allowed to have dreams. There is a primo in every Honduran family who got into UNAH, the National University in Tegucigalpa, the only ticket out his family had ever earned. He dropped out the first semester. And here's where it gets twisted, not because the work was too hard, because nobody in his family had ever finished anything, and finishing felt like betrayal. Finishing felt like saying the rest of you were wrong to give up. Here's where it gets really ugly. The Mars kill the body. The mindset kills the future. You can move a Catracho to Houston, to Miami, to Madrid, to New York. The mindset goes with him in his suitcase. The pessimism crosses borders for free. That is the inner trap. And until you see it for what it is, escape is not actually possible. Geography is not a fix. Distance is not a fix. A green card is not a fix. Mindset is the fix. So let me step out of my own story for a second. There is a structural reason Honduras produces this exact mindset. A century of being treated as a banana republic by US fruit companies. A history of military coups every 20 years on schedule. A neighbor to the north that exports gangs and absorbs migrants, but never invests in the country those migrants leave. an education system designed in the 1800s for a population the elite did not want to educate. If you stack all that for 4 generations, what comes out the other side is exactly what we have: a nation of operators with no operating system. Y ese chamaco que les acabo de describir, que caminaba por Chamelecón con la cabeza baja, que iba a más funerales que cumpleaños, que escuchaba a su abuela decir que no se podía, ese era yo. Y si has estado escuchando este video pensando que era sobre Honduras, pero espera, era sobre el laberinto que tú también estás caminando, porque mira, la mara mental no respeta fronteras. So how do you actually break out? Not the green card escape, the real one, the mindset escape that works whether you live in San Pedro Sula or San Antonio, Texas. 3 moves, concrete, today. Move 1. Stop carrying your family's losses as your identity. Your TO's failed business is not your inheritance unless you accept the deed. Your father's broken back at the maquila is not your prophecy. Your mother's 16-hour days at the hospital are not the ceiling of what work has to look like for you. They survived. You are allowed to build. Those are different verbs. Every Catracho I know who actually got free did this one thing first. He stopped saying Así somos out loud. Then he stopped thinking it. Then he started catching it when other Hondurans said it around him and quietly walked away from those conversations. Because here's the truth: pessimism is contagious, and you catch it from the people closest to you. Move 2. Pick one skill the world pays for and become unreasonable about it. Not 5, not 3, 1. The Catracho mistake is to spread thin trying to survive. 3 side hustles, none of them deep. Driving Uber in the morning, fixing roofs in the afternoon, selling pupusas on Saturday. That's not entrepreneurship. That's exhaustion with extra steps. The operator move is to pick the one skill that pays the most per hour for the energy you have and then go absolutely psycho on it for 5 years. Could be plumbing, could be sales, could be commercial roofing, could be coding, could be running a route, could be commercial cleaning at scale. The skill matters less than the depth. 5 years of unreasonable focus on one trade beats 20 years of distributed hustle in every metric that matters: income, savings, optionality, what you can pass to your kids. But it gets worse if you skip this move. The Catracho who never picks one skill ends his career exactly where he started it, tired and broke, with $96,000 worth of remittances under the bridge and nothing to show for any of it. So watch what happens to the Catracho who actually does pick one. 5 years in, his hourly rate doubles. 10 years in, he is hiring other Catrachos. 15 years in, he is the TO the next generation calls when they need advice. Move 3. Move toward people who already escaped. Proximity is the cheat code nobody talks about. The reason most Catrachos in Houston stay broke is they only spend time with other broke Catrachos. Same conversations, same complaints, same así somos, same Saturday night at the same Primo's apartment talking about the same job at the same warehouse. The escape requires sitting in rooms where the conversations are different. The Honduran American who owns 3 rental properties in Spring Branch, the Salvadoran American who built a 4-truck commercial cleaning company, the Nicaraguan American who runs a logistics brokerage out of a strip mall in Pasadena. They exist. They are in your city. They are not hiding. They are just not at your Primo's Saturday barbecue. Find them, sit near them, pay for the dinner, ask the questions, listen for what is different about how they think, not what is different about their luck. Because here's the thing: luck is not what separates them from you. Mindset is. And mindset is the one thing in this entire video that you can change before you finish watching it. 3 moves. Stop carrying the family's losses. Pick one skill and go psycho on it. Move toward people who already escaped. And that's how you make it out. But here's the part nobody told me when I left San Pedro Sula. The maze is in your head whether you live in San Pedro or San Antonio. Geography does not fix it. Distance does not fix it. 900 miles of border crossing does not fix it. Mindset fixes it. Eso es por qué tantos catrachos llegan a Houston y siguen perdidos. They moved their feet. They never moved their head. The maquila in Choloma and the warehouse in Pasadena, Texas are the same prison if you walk into both expecting to die there. I made it out. The kid from Chamelecón who walked to school past corners his abuela told him not to look at. The kid who buried more uncles than he had birthdays. The kid who heard Así Somos at every dinner table for the first 18 years of his life. I made it out. So can you. Whether you were born in San Pedro Sula or in Tegucigalpa or in El Salvador or in Houston, Texas, listening to this in a truck on your lunch break, the first Mara you have to escape is the one that lives in your head. La primera Mara de la que te tienes que escapar es la que vive en tu cabeza. Get out of that one first. The rest gets easier. If this video helped you out, hit the like button and subscribe so the next one finds you. Click that notification bell. That's how you catch every new Gordo worldwide video the day it drops. And if you want to keep building, watch this one next. This is Gordo. Apply one thing this week. We'll be back next week.